The latest from the Missouri Botanical Garden. That's next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to City Corner. Well, spring is almost here, but the Missouri Botanical Garden really is a destination point all year. And I'd like to introduce you to our guest today. She's Katherine Martin, and she is the garden's Public Information Officer. Hi, Katherine, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Happy spring a little bit early?
Yes, we're almost there.
I heard a weather forecaster tease me with that just this morning. But that's true, don't you think, that maybe for some people they think Missouri Botanical Garden is one of those places you go when things are blooming, but that's not true.
Definitely. We like to describe it as beauty in all 4 seasons. There's something to do year-round. The snow actually just makes the garden more beautiful. The Japanese garden especially is beautiful to see in the snow. And of course we have indoor locations, and the climatron's always 85 degrees, so it's a great place to warm up in the winter. Right,
and I know you haven't been there that long, and the garden certainly has been there decades and decades and decades, but I'm sure it's changed a lot over the years. It wasn't always that way, I guess, in the beginning.
Yes, we're always growing and changing, and 1859, so it's been a few years since we opened. It's changed quite a bit.
A couple of years. Yeah, that was Henry Shaw's home or estate, and we were talking just before we started. Whenever I'm at the Missouri Botanical Garden, I always picture back, because when he was there, that was his estate outside of St. Louis in the country. And when you stand there now and look around and think about that, it's kind of amazing.
It is. It was his country home, and yeah, but now it feels you're just right in the city.
Yeah, and I think he left it to the city after he died, and that's how it became what it is today.
Yes, and Tower Grove Park was actually his property as well, and he left that to the city.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was looking at your website the other day, and you know, we just celebrated Valentine's Day. I hope you had a good one.
Yes.
Did you get any chocolate, or?
Of course.
Speaking of chocolate, though, on your website, there's always something fun on your website, and there was something about chocolate shopping. Now, what does that have to do with gardening?
Sure. So that was a blog post from our Earthway Center, which is our sustainability branch, and they were focused on sustainable chocolate. So, you know, we all love chocolate at Valentine's Day, other holidays, and it's important to make choices that are sustainable. So if you visit our website, mobot.org, there are recommendations there on how to shop sustainably for chocolate.
Mm-hmm. And your website's always full of interesting things, not just about the garden itself, but things going on and related topics.
Yes, our Discover and Share blog has lots of interesting content about our scientists, about our history, and sometimes about sustainability. Lots of different topics that people might find interesting, and gardening tips as well.
Right. A couple other things that's on your website I just want to ask you about. Things people might not know about, like you offer spring and summer classes. Can you tell me about those?
Yeah, we have a variety of classes, gardening tips, photography, cooking, all kinds of different subjects. And you can register for those now, and they just offer a lot of unique experiences right there at the garden.
Another thing I saw on the website was the grasses of George Washington Carver.
Yes, that was a blog post by my colleague, and it was looking a little bit at the garden's history. So we have a few dozen specimens in our herbarium that are from George Washington Carver, who of course is known as the peanut butter guy, but he did a lot for agriculture and horticulture and science.
Peanut butter and chocolate's a good combination, now that I think about it.
It is.
Like we said, you've always got something going on, and one of the big annual things I think a lot of people look forward to, which is currently up right now, is the Orchid Show.
Yes, that's open right now every day through March 24th, and it's more than 450 blooming orchids in a tropical oasis. It smells lovely. It's a beautiful setting.
How popular is that?
It's very popular. It's another thing you mentioned, going there in the winter or in all seasons. It's great because it's in our main visitor center, so you don't even have to go outside to get to it if it's cold or raining, and you can enjoy that tropical setting.
Speaking of, you mentioned that facility there, how can you describe the garden to us as far as the size of it, what it encompasses, how many buildings? I know there's a lot to that.
Sure. So we have that main visitor center there in the Orthwine display hall, which is where our flower shows are inside. And then outside in the garden, there's 79 acres. So it's It's pretty large. Our largest garden is the Japanese garden, and that's 14 acres and includes that lake, and it's beautiful, and we have lots of different lovely settings.
You said 79 acres?
79 acres in total.
And is most of that accessible to you if you just go walk it?
Yes, pretty much all of it is.
Wow.
It's a lot to cover.
You're going to have an open house in March of some kind.
We are. So I mentioned some of those herbarium specimens earlier. We actually have one of the largest herbariums in the world, and that's those dry plant specimens. So that's one of the things you can see behind the scenes and learn more about our science. We have researchers all over the world doing lots of fascinating research, so you can learn more about that, as well as the Earthways Center, which we talked a little bit about, and learn about sustainability and ways you can be green.
Okay, so the Missouri Botanical Garden is located in St. Louis, but you're connected with a couple of other facilities. I kind of would like you to explain that relationship. One is the Butterfly House in Chesterfield.
Yes, that is one of our sister sites, and so they are also a beautiful place to go year-round.
And I've never been there, so tell me about it.
Okay, yeah, it's all inside, so it's a great place to go in the winter. And they have a tropical conservatory that, much like the Climatron, is 85 degrees every day, so it's a nice warm place. And right now they have their Morpho Mardi Gras event, so normally they have 1,500 butterflies. In addition to that, right now they release 2,000 blue morphos, and they're there all February and March.
Morphos?
Blue morphos, it's a type of butterfly, and they're bright blue, so it's just really a sea of blue when you walk in there.
So what's the deal with butterflies? Why are they important?
They're pollinators, so that's always important to plants. So there's a pretty obvious connection there with that. And they also have a lot of tropical plants in that conservatory too, so there's a lot of connections. And they actually, in addition to butterflies, have some other bugs, so it's a fun place to take kids to learn more about different insects.
Kids love bugs.
Yes, there's cockroaches, so there's a lot of cockroaches there you can see.
On purpose, you mean?
Yes. So little boys usually love that.
Moms usually hate cockroaches. I'll just throw that in there.
These are contained at least.
Well, besides the Butterfly House in Chesterfield, another area which is also connected to the Botanical Garden is a Shaw Nature Reserve out in Gray Summit, which is out there.
So that was originally purchased when St. Louis had a lot of pollution during the Industrial Revolution, to move the flower collections, like the orchids, were being affected by all that pollution, and they were going to move everything out there to Gray Summit so it wouldn't be affected. Obviously, the pollution was resolved, so we were able to keep our collections there, but now we also have Shaw Nature Reserve, which is just a very scenic place if you haven't been out there, to take hikes and enjoy the views of lots of trees and just a really nice scenery.
Are there buildings and exhibits inside, or is it strictly an outdoor event?
There's a main building inside that you can go to. It's mostly the scenery outside, and there's some formal gardens. There's a wildflower garden that's really beautiful in the spring, and then those trails are lovely in the fall with all the fall color.
And spring will be here in just weeks.
It will be.
Hey, we've got some images we want to share with our viewers, and you can comment on them. This first one, we were just talking about the Butterfly House.
Oh, yes.
Is this not the right image?
Oh, that was, I think, Chinese culture days.
Okay, we can go back and look at one of the two.
There we go. Yes. That's the blue morpho that I was telling you about. So there's 2,000 of those in the conservatory right now, and you can see they're a really pretty color, and so you just walk into a sea of blue when you get there.
I don't know if you know much about butterflies yourself.
A little bit.
I was just curious. They just live one season, right?
Yes, so it's actually an interesting process. We get them from Costa Rica via FedEx, and they arrive in the little chrysalids, and then they hang them, they pin them up, so it's like they're on a tree, and then they hatch and they release them into the conservatory.
Butterflies are beautiful.
They are.
And we'll go back to that second image again. Now, this is the Chinese Culture Days. That's an event you do every year. What's that all about?
Yeah, so that's at the end of April, the last weekend in April, the 26th and 27th. And there's just food, art, music, a lot of things to enjoy and learn about Chinese culture a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And let's go to the next one, the Best of Missouri Market.
Yes, this is our fall event. It's always the first weekend in October, and it's a market. We have more than 120 vendors, so you can get gifts if you want to get a jump start on your holiday shopping, little crafts, home goods. There's also live music every day, We have a craft beer and cocktail court, and it's just a great way to kick off fall.
Tell me about the items. I mean, where do they come from, really?
Yeah, it's a lot of different artisans and vendors from across the state, and some from even a couple states over, and they're just selling handmade products. I personally did a lot of Christmas shopping there.
You did?
Yeah.
Tell me about a couple of things you picked up.
So there was an Irish candy booth, so I got some of that for my grandma who's Irish and for my cousins. And I got some little pieces of art for family members as well.
Sounds like you'd find a lot of things there you don't find other places.
Yes, there's a lot of very unique products.
I'm sure you've done, someone at the Botanical Garden has done research on like where your visitors come from. And I know it's not just St. Louis or Missouri people.
Yeah, we actually get visitors from all over the world, from other countries and across America. Of course, our biggest population of visitors is from the St. Louis area, but we do get worldwide visitors.
And how many places are there in this country, or maybe the world, like the Missouri Botanical Garden up to that caliber? It can't be too many.
Yes, we're one of the top 3 botanical gardens in the world. Our peers are Kew Gardens in London and the New York Botanic Gardens.
That's incredible.
It is wonderful to have that treasure right here in our backyard in St. Louis.
Let's look at another image, and this is something a lot of people know about.
Yes, that's Garden Glow, which many people have made part of their family holiday tradition. That tree is 24 feet tall. It was new this year, and it's animated, and we're always adding something new each year to Garden Glow, so that was what was new in 2018, so 2019 we'll have some new features as well.
You have so much going on there all the time, so many different things. You must have a really huge staff altogether. It's got to be a lot of people to do all of this.
Across all 3 of our sites, I think there's about 500 people total.
Wow.
A lot of horticulture staff, obviously, to keep our garden looking beautiful.
Yeah, what does that take? I'm just curious about, I call it maintenance, that's probably the wrong word, but the horticulture staff, the people that work outside and keep everything looking perfect. That's got to be a fascinating job. I'm just wondering who those people are. What kind of, are they professional horticulturalists?
Yes, we have a lot of professional horticulturalists on staff, and they get there at 7 a.m. every day to start their day and get work done. And they're, doing maintenance. They clear the paths when there's snow. They keep it looking beautiful every day.
I heard that you were there extra early recently.
Yeah, I was there at 5 a.m. yesterday. Sometimes when we have the news stations come out and they like to do morning shots there, I get there at 5 a.m. And it's nice to see it in that quiet, peaceful atmosphere.
How do you think people use the garden? I know a lot of people come, bring their families, go look at a certain exhibit or something, but I have a feeling a lot of people might just go out there for personal time.
Yes, a lot of people go to get some zen, just enjoy a quiet moment in the Japanese garden or elsewhere. It's a very peaceful place to just walk around, to sit and think. And we do have a lot of people take out-of-town visitors, but there are some people who come every week, and we have groups who come once a week to walk together and just spend time together.
Yeah, I like that whole Zen idea. It could help us all these days, couldn't it?
Yes, it's a perfect place to take a break and just relax and think
speaking
about
of taking a break, we're going to do one right now, and we'll be back with more of the Missouri Botanical Garden right after this.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on man, let's put a ride home.
Action!
Hi, I'm Steve Potter. This is City Corner. We're talking with Katherine Martin, who is the Public Information Officer for the Missouri Botanical Garden. And spring is on the way, and we made a point earlier that the Missouri Botanical Garden is a place to go and see live plants all year.
It is.
Because besides the 79 acres, tell me more about the buildings, the big buildings, and how big they are, and what we can see over the winter there.
Sure. The Climatron's the biggest attraction. It's that tropical rainforest setting, 85 degrees, so it feels like you're on a little vacation there. Recently, just a year ago, we reopened our museum building, which had been closed for 3 decades, but it was a building that was around in Henry Shaw's time. And so right now we have a botanical art exhibit on display, and it's actually a national exhibit. It was in Washington, D.C., and we're the first place to get it after that debut. And it's just different botanical artworks that you can see depicting native plants from throughout the U.S., and it's a very nice exhibit.
But that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Is the garden available for like private events? I mean, could I have a wedding reception there or
Yes.
something else?
Yes, we have lots of weddings there. It's a very popular place. Butterfly House does weddings as well, and Shaw Nature Reserve has just started too for that kind of country, shabby chic vibe that's really popular
Shabby
right
chic?
now. Yes.
Let's take another look at another image we have, and tell me about Meet Me Outdoors.
Yes, so this is an event that we've had for a few years now, and we're changing it up a little bit, and it will be all of April this year. And we just offer different adventurous outdoor activities.
Now I want to do that, tell me.
Yes, that's a canopy climb, so you can get up in the trees and explore, and it's a different perspective on the garden because you're up in the trees.
How far up do you go?
Pretty high up there, pretty into the canopy, so you're right up there. So
That's incredible.
yeah, so we're having throughout April, we're going to have special activities at our 3 sites on different weekends in April, so you can come have some outdoor adventures. And if you like to have those outdoor adventures or get some exercise, we also have fun runs at all 3 of our sites. So we'll have the Tulip Trot at the garden, Daffodil Dash at Shaw Nature Reserve, and the Springtime Sprint at the Butterfly House.
So it's a run. What's that all about? I mean,
yeah, they're just fun runs, so you can run, you can walk, and just enjoy the atmosphere and the beautiful setting while you're getting some exercise.
I'm really good at runs if I'm allowed to walk.
Yes, me too. That's my favorite way to run.
Hey, the Japanese festival. Now that's been one of your signature events, I would say.
It is, and it's actually one of the largest Japanese festivals in all of the country, and one of the oldest.
But why are we celebrating a Japanese festival in St. Louis?
Yeah, it's kind of tied to our Japanese garden, which celebrated its 40th anniversary a few years ago. And the festival's been around close to that amount of time. So it's just a great way to experience some performances, art, culture. This was new last year, and it was kind of these pop-up parades that they would have throughout the garden. And these performers were from Japan and came to St. Louis for this festival.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Now let's take a look at the next one.
Yeah, so
that's just a picture of the garden, right?
Yes, that is the garden in spring. Those are our beautiful pink magnolia trees right there by the front. And the garden just is a beautiful place to be in the spring. We have our magnolias, the azaleas, tulips, irises, which usually peak around Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. So it's just a great place to take in all the colors of spring.
Well, Katherine Martin, you are the public information person there at the garden. I'm just a little curious about your background. You're relatively new there. I guess you've been there a year or so?
Yeah, a little over a year.
Uh-huh. But did you grow up being a gardener, or where does your interest come from?
I did not, but I grew up here in St. Louis. I've always loved the garden and St. Louis. So when I saw they had an opening, it seemed like a perfect place to work.
You kind of had an interesting background. You were in journalism.
Yes, this is my first public relations job. I came from print journalism before this.
What's your little mini resume?
Sure. Prior to this, I worked at Missouri Lawyers Weekly, which is a statewide publication for attorneys. And prior to that, I worked at the Columbia Daily Tribune in Columbia, Missouri.
I'm sure they have very nice offices and everything, but it must be incredible to get up every day and your destination spot where you're going to work all day is the Missouri Botanical Garden.
Yes, it's really easy. You know, a lot of us try to take a little walk every day. It's really easy to motivate yourself when you can walk through the garden and get your exercise that way.
You can even have a bite to eat there.
Yes, so year-round we have our Sassafras Cafe, and in spring, we also reopened Cafe Flora, where you can get a lovely brunch every Sunday. And that opens the last weekend in March, which is also when our children's garden reopens, and that's a favorite of many families.
Okay. Let's take another look at a picture we have from the Missouri Botanical Garden. And this, I think, is grapes in the garden, which that's not, it must have something to do with wine.
Yes, it is a wine event. So we have lots to do for families, but we also have some fun adult activities as well. So if you're a wine lover, we have our Grapes in the Garden, and that's on May 10th. And if you're more of a beer lover, we have Festive Ale, and that's on May 17th. And we also have a sake event in the spring when the cherry blossoms are blooming in the Japanese garden. It's called Sake and Sakura, and that's on April 5th.
I wanted to ask you about the children's garden.
Yes. So if you haven't, I hadn't actually been in there prior to working there. I had never heard of it. And it's actually very large, and there's so much to do. There's slides, but there's lots to climb on, ropes, caves, some kind of Lewis and Clark activities. It's a lot to do for kids, and it's a great place to let them run off some energy. And you can kind of just sit there and enjoy the atmosphere of the garden.
You do a speaker series also.
We do, yes. So those are for our garden members, and they cover a range of topics, and we like to invite our members to get those special experiences.
Oh, well, you mentioned the garden members. Tell me about that.
Sure. So if you are someone who likes to go to the garden a lot, it's really a great deal to be a member. And you get access to some of those special events, and then if you are a festival level member, you can enjoy some of these different festivals that we've talked about as part of your membership.
Like the Whittaker Music Festival.
Well, the Whittaker Music Festival is actually free for everyone.
Oh.
Yes, and those are Wednesday nights in the summer, and they're free concerts, and
those have become very popular.
They are very popular. You can bring your own food and wine, so you can have a little picnic, and it's a really nice summer night activity.
Right. There's a lot of opportunities, too, for people to be involved, not just as customers, so to speak, but you could be a volunteer. Tell me about volunteer opportunities.
We have many, many volunteers. Everything at the garden would not be possible without them. The Orchid Show, for instance, volunteers play a major role. There's only 20 days to set that whole show up between our holiday flower show and that, so volunteers are essential for that. We have our docents who offer tours of the garden. They're all volunteers. So if you're interested in gardening, history, even construction, helping build some of those sets for our holiday shows, there's really an opportunity for everyone.
And if someone's interested in that, would they find more on your website? Or?
Yes, mobot.org. We'll have lots of information about how you can volunteer.
You have fellowships. Explain what that is.
Sure. We offer some fellowships just for people who are interested in learning more.
I mean, is that people more with a background in botanical related subjects?
Yes, and science and that sort of thing.
And even internships, I guess, is that for college students?
Yes, we have lots of different internships. Even in our communications department, we offer photography internships, graphic design internships, and then there's opportunities throughout the garden. So really whatever you're interested in, we can probably find something.
Do you have maybe a couple examples of, I don't know, can you think of a couple of volunteer opportunities that maybe you've dealt with recently or somebody's done recently?
So volunteer opportunities? Yeah, I think our docents are a great example. They give tours every day. And during our special events like Garden Glow, a lot of the staff that you see out there are actually our volunteer staff.
You mentioned tours, so is that something you need to head up ahead of time? And do you give tours to just me if I walk in, or is that just for groups, or how does that work?
Yeah, we offer tours every day. You don't have to make a reservation. It's just 11 a.m. every day, and you can just go, and a docent will take you through the tour and tell you some of the history. And that same weekend when the children's garden reopens, the last weekend in March, our trams also reopen. And so that's another way to tour the garden, and you can kind of sit back and relax and learn more about the history.
How long are those tours? I mean, that's 79 acres. That could be a long tour.
Yeah, it's they offer them every hour, and it's one of those where you can get off and get back on, so it kind of depends on how interested you are and how many people are on your tour.
We have a couple more images to look at. This one we've already mentioned, but let's talk about it a little bit more. The Whittaker Music Festival, well, you said you can take your own food and beverages and things, but just look at that.
Yes, people love to just sit out there on a summer night, enjoy a free concert and a picnic. And we should be announcing the lineup soon. We have people who come for a specific band, so you can find out more
And
soon.
it's kind of a wide array of music.
It is. It's really something for everyone. Lots of families like to come. People like to bring their kids. And since it is free, if you don't want to stay the whole time, you can head out early.
Well, let's talk. We have one more Orchid Show. We talked about that earlier, but that's going on right now until late March sometime, you said.
March 24th.
So is timing, is that important in an orchid show because orchids bloom? And maybe it's not as hard as I'm thinking it is, but I think you have to kind of coordinate things so things bloom at the right time.
You do. And actually, the orchids some of them will be changed out throughout the show depending on what is blooming. So you can actually go to the show multiple times and get a different perspective because there will be different orchids that they've switched out for those that are past bloom get replaced with some that are in bloom.
And we mentioned you can dine out there, but you can also do a little shopping too. Talk about that.
Yeah, we have our garden gate shop on site, which is a great place for little gifts, some garden-related items, candles, all kinds of different interesting things. They're always getting something new in. I find myself shopping there more than I probably should.
Is there anything in the works that you can tell us about? Anything new coming up?
We will have a summer exhibit this year. So details are still being finalized, but look for that announcement soon. We will have something coming special.
So you're not going to give me any hints or anything?
Not yet, but soon we'll have more to share.
What do you think people really get out of visiting the Missouri Botanical Garden? I'm sure, don't you, in your position, I would think, you talk to a lot of people and get feedback from them. I'm wondering what that kind of experience, what's your sense of what that experience is like for people?
I think it is just a beautiful place to kind of escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. We like to say it's a 79-acre oasis in the middle of the city. So it's just a wonderful place to go and enjoy some peace and quiet, or to take your friends and family, or enjoy some of our special events.
Well, for our viewers watching now, I bet there are a couple of people out there that have never been. So what would you say is the best way to find out what's going on at the Botanical Garden and kind of plan your visit there? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I would suggest spending a little time on our website. We have lots of information about all of the different formal gardens we have, all of our events, so you can see what sounds best to you and plan your visit around that.
And there's a lot coming up.
There is. There's always a lot happening.
All right. Well, Katherine Martin, we want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And I'm ready for spring, and the Missouri Botanical Garden can help. Remember, there's that Trivia Night Garden Show, February 16th, the Orchid Show, which is now through March 24th. There's that Science and Sustainability Open House on March the 9th. And for more information, go to the website, mobot.org. Great seeing you, and have a wonderful spring at the Botanical Garden.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. I'm Steve Potter. Thank you at home for watching today, and join us next time on City Corner.